drum rolling, but I think the drummer is missing. Because of the time, we just now coming in, and it's just wonderful to see everybody. I just want to take a few minutes because we have taken a little bit while to get in here and do a short introduction of the symposium. First, I want to thank you and welcome all of you. We have various visitors, dignitaries, guests, whom you're going to interact later on and have an opportunity to meet. For example, we have His Royal Majesty Dempsey, and I'm not going to mess his name up because he's a long time friend of mine, and I'm going to make sure that we will introduce him proper. There's also others who are coming, but I wanted to take care of the first things first. First of all, the Chancellor, the Chancellor family, and all the Eagle family, and our guests and guests of honors and the dignitaries. I am very delighted to stand here in this historical moment as the chair of a faculty senate, and having serving the North Carolina Central for about 18 years now, but in the system 30 years. This is an occasion which I've been looking forward to have in one time, but due to the esteemed Chancellor leadership, Dr. Johnson A. Kennedy, it made it happen. It's been in the making for a long time. This symposium marks an era of change that embraces global engagement and international collaboration this day of April 18th and 2018. I want to also make sure that everybody knows this will be recorded and streamed live, so whenever we make remarks, to be able to make sure that you're projecting. I would like to express my sincere appreciation for the Chancellor, the 12th Chancellor of the NCCU, Dr. Johnson O. Kennedy, who is the reason why we have assembled today in this historic building and a historical moment. First, Eagles family, I hope you're showing the guests and who are come from far. They come from wide and from Asia, Africa, Americas, North and South, and Europe. So you will be enticed by the presence of these people, especially the panels, and as we interact. So make sure that you take advantage of that. We have several Royal Majesties, two more from Nigeria, and of course our Royal Majesty from Ghana, which you get to know very well today. I am not going to take too much time because we want to get into starting, but I want to bring my staff Senate chair to welcome you.
Good morning. We can do a little bit better than that. Good Eagle morning. I bring you greetings on behalf of the staff of North Carolina Central University. My name is Demetria Robinson, and I am the North Carolina Central University Staff Senate Chair for 2017-2019. I stand before you today as an alum, a staff member, and now the Staff Senate Chair at this international symposium with the renewed energy for this institution. I can recite all the words about a man who needs no introduction. A smart, intelligent, scholar, leader, but that's not me. The panelists assembled here today represent a transformation by our Chancellor, the era of a new change. So to you, Chancellor, you embody the spirit of collaboration and inclusiveness. The relationships and the partnerships that you have formed and will continue to form in an effort to deliver on the Eagle Promise will create a pathway for North Carolina Central University to be in the business of fulfilling the Eagle Dream. This is history in the making for this institution, myself, Eagles near and far, and for those who are eagles yet to know that they are eagles. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to introduce you to a star born right here in Eagle Nest. One of the, I know I had something to do with the bringing her here, Bertolina Jaramba, who is a general, I got to get it right. The UNCGA, University of, government, yeah. We have a whole system of submitting campuses, and we have student governors who are overall selected from all institutions, and she is the president, the first African American to be selected as the president of student government in the general administration. Jaramba.
Good morning. How are you all doing today? Wonderful. So it truly is a pleasure to be here with you all this morning. My name is Betty-Lena Jaramba, President-elect of the University of North Carolina System Association of Student Governments. I am a third-year elementary education student here at the illustrious North Carolina Central University. I was born in the beautiful East African country of Kenya and raised right down the road in Raleigh, North Carolina. Through my matriculation at North Carolina Central University, I've served as a student leader in various capacities that have all prepared me to stand before you today as the first Black woman elected into the position of the UNC ASG president. Over the next year, thank you. Over the next year, I will have the honor of serving on the UNC Board of Governors as a representative of the 225,000 students across North Carolina's 17 public universities, and I couldn't be more elated to serve in this position as a product of my HBCU. Renowned author Dennis Waitley once said, "You must look within for value, but must look beyond for perspective." As an immigrant, a student, and a leader, I appreciate our new Eagle-in-Chief, Dr. Johnson Akinleye, for prioritizing a global perspective in our undergraduate experience. We're living in a time where the world is more accessible than ever. It is imperative to equip students with the resources and opportunities like the symposium that acknowledge the impact we can have, not only on our campus and local community, but our global community. Thank you all for being here and contributing to the vision of our first choice premier global institution. So without further ado, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you the 12th Chancellor of North Carolina Central University, Dr. Johnson O. Akinleye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. It's indeed a very good morning here on our campus. We usually refer to our campus as the Eagle's Nest. And if you don't know what that means, let me explain it to you. The nest is where the eagle camps. And so we are here in the nest. Our students love to refer to it that way. Today is really a beautiful day, a wonderful day, an exciting day as we celebrate and mark a new beginning. Before I really start, I wanted to just take a moment to thank Betty-Lena Jaramba. Betty-Lena is articulate, poised, and ready for business. Now, Betty-Lena, as you've heard, has just been appointed as the first African-American female and of African ancestry to lead the 225,000 strong students of the UNC system, to be their voice. That is powerful. Betty-Lena is a trailblazer, as you can see. a first in her class. So we're very pleased to have Bethelina this morning to be part of this engagement. I wanted to say to you this morning that there's always a first in everything. What you see here today represents a first for NCCU that will be continued. That's why we refer to it as an inaugural international symposium. We'll talk a little bit more about this in just a minute. But before that, let me take care of some housekeeping business. To all of our friends who have come from far and near, I think you heard Dr. Mutisia, the chair of the Faculty Senate, indicated to you that some have come as far as 7,000 miles across the ocean. And people have come from all walks of life, from Europe, Asia, Africa, and more, to this campus today. So we want to welcome all of you. We want to thank you for joining our students. We want to thank you for joining our faculty, for joining our staff and alum, and most importantly, our members of the Board of Trustees. Before I really begin my conversation with you this morning, I want to acknowledge those who have been instrumental in really organizing and putting this symposium together. It's very important to address the workforce. And so it's my pleasure to acknowledge Dr. Philip Mutisia, Dr. Deborah Parker. I want both of them to please stand. Please stand and give them a warm round of applause. And of course, they couldn't have done this without some help. So there were various other committee members who have participated in this event and making it happen today. So I want you to, if you are here and you are part of the committees that have made the Installation Week event happen, will you please stand and be recognized? If you are part of that, please give them another round of applause. To all of our dignitaries, kings, which we'll talk about later on, who have blessed us today. His Royal Majesty, Sir Apollo from Ghana. We thank you for coming today. And we have His Royal Majesty from Enugu, Lagos in Nigeria. He told me yesterday in our meeting that he traveled more than 12 hours across 3 continents to get here. And he was a little tired when he came to the reception. So I told him, I said, we'll go to the hotel and get some rest. And we'll see you in the morning. And so you'll probably see him today and interact with him. We want to thank you. And of course, all of our partners who have come from RTI, from World Peace, the Global World Peace in DC, people who have come, ambassadors from Kenya. We're happy to see you. David, Chief Imam, and many others. I usually don't try to call names because then I don't remember some names. But it is not intentional if I don't get your name. But I want to be sure that people understand who are in our midst this morning and why they're here. So we want to thank all of you for taking the time to come and be with us on this very special day. Now, I can't start without saying to you that the reason why we're doing all of this is because of our students. This is really not for us. We live and work in an academy where we are preparing students to take on the world, where we're preparing students to understand the world in which they live and interact. I don't know how many of you saw in the news today the incident with Starbucks. These are not bad people at all. In many cases, they don't mean harm or ill-intended. But because we do not understand each other in terms of our cultures and our ideas, we make mistakes. And those mistakes are often serious and impactful. And this is the reason why, while our students are in school, we need to make sure that it is part of our curriculum to instill in them what it means to live in such an interconnected world and to prepare them to understand what it's going to take when they graduate. As I often said, our students are educated in a classroom, in an institution that upon graduation, they go into the workforce that would not look nothing like the classroom in which they were educated. And they have to understand how to navigate that world. So we are happy today that you've joined us. Our special theme for this international symposium is ushering in a new era, global engagement and international collaboration. This theme will provide a glimpse of the international partnerships, the intellectual discourse, and efforts that are underway here at NCCU to begin to advance this dialogue. Let me set the stage for you in advance of our conversation about global connectivity and North Carolina Central University. As I mentioned last night at our reception, this discussion is not a new venture for our campus. The question of global connectivity has been a standard practice at our university since its earliest days. We have long been a part of the world and a partner to it. In 1959, President Sékou Touré of the Republic of Guinea made his first trip to the United States and visited what was then North Carolina College at Durham. He was presented with an honorary Doctor of Law degrees by President Alfonso Elder, who was the president at the time. Following the ceremony, President Elder accompanied President Touré to the White House for a meeting with President Dwight Eisenhower. The significance of this historic visit was a great one for our campus. President Touré was the first sitting international president to come to NCCU. Also, as only the 9th country on the continent of Africa to become an independent nation on October 2nd, 1958. His visit was momentous, not just for our institution, but for the entire United States. In the years that followed, this institution, North Carolina Central University, has facilitated numerous conversations with international leaders while expanding our global exchange partnerships and entering into new collaborations with universities and entities overseas. The value of these diverse connections and the one that is presented to us today are important to our students, and it teaches them invaluable lessons that will benefit them for life, both today and tomorrow. Today, North Carolina Central University stands as a highly competitive 21st century academy of excellence with an international footprint. Since I arrived at NCCU in 2014, I have made developing socially and globally engaged students a major priority for NCCU and one of 4 deliverables in what we coined the Eagle Promise. The diversity of our students, of our faculty, and our student population is wide-ranging and is a true reflection of the society in which we live. NCCU, on our faculty, we have so many international, diverse faculty. On our campus, we have so many international, diverse students. We are leaders in this business. So, I'll share with you a Pew Research that was put out by the Research Center, published in November 2017, that noted that nearly 364,000 foreign students with F1 visas were newly enrolled at a U.S. college or university in 2016. Let me repeat, 364,000 students. This doubled the number at the outset of the Great Depression. From 2008 to 2016, the number of new foreign students at our U.S. colleges and universities increased 104%, far outpacing overall college enrollment growth in the United States, which was 3.4%. During the same period, according to the U.S. Census Bureau data, with the majority of these students enrolling at public universities, what does this mean to us? This does signify the substantial growth in the number of students who come to the States to study, and includes the 10% of NCCU students who identify as foreign citizens. Now, coupled with this growth, we are strategically enhancing our efforts to provide our U.S. students also with the opportunity to travel abroad and participate in immersive international experiences. As I mentioned to you earlier, NCCU has been in this business for some time. We just need to intensify that effort. In 1955, Yvonne Strauss Leftwich became the first undergraduate student from this institution to receive a Fulbright Fellowship. She studied political science at Rheinische Friedrich Wilhelm University in Bonn, Germany, and went on to a successful career as a policy scholar. Our accomplishments are many and should be celebrated and applauded by our community. Additionally, NCCU has several Fulbright lecturers and scholars and residents on the faculty. Within the past 3 years alone, 2 professors in the Department of Music, Professor Baron Timus and Professor Lenora Hermans, who is here. I think I see her in the audience. I don't see Professor Timus. Is Professor Helms here? Will you please stand up? Give her. What about Professor Timus? They completed Fulbright residences in Montreal, Canada, and Aarhus, Denmark, respectively. Currently, Professor and Chair of the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences, Dr. Gordana Vlahovic, is attending a Fulbright residency at the Rochester Institute of Technology in Pristina, Kosovo, where she is conducting geohazards analysis and developing a scientific and educational partnership with a group of international research institutes. These are just some examples that showcase how we are leading the way in this venture. Since I joined the NCCU community, we've been focused and intent and aggressive in providing our students and faculty cross-cultural experiences that expand their ability to conduct cutting-edge research in a number of disciplines, from the humanities to education and the STEM industries. We are working to leverage our resources with institutions, corporations, industries, government agencies, local government agencies, and the like. 3 months after I arrived on this campus, we took an NCCU leadership contingent, including myself, and we went to Beijing, China. There, we signed a memorandum of understanding for a bilingual speech-language pathologist training program with Beijing Language and Cultural University. In China, there are pressing challenges with millions of children that have autism, and the government is intent on providing trainers for them. Beijing and Cultural and Language University reached out to us, to our School of Education, and we went to them and entered into an agreement to train students from Beijing so that they can return and become the leaders and trainers in this particular field. Just 2 weeks ago, at our honors convocation, we honored the first graduate to matriculate at NCCU as a result of that alliance, Ms. Jenjia Louis, as you see right there. She's going to be on the stage on the 11th, and we will celebrate her. She is the first to obtain a degree as a result of the Beijing linguistic and cultural partnerships with our School of Education. Let's give the School of Education a round of applause. Well, this collaborative program primarily centers on student and faculty exchanges, joint research and educational training programs, and research contracts. Other areas of focus include a dual degree program, as well as enterprise and entrepreneurial activity. Beijing Language and Cultural University is one of less than 10 universities in China that now currently offers a degree in communication disorders. This is the kind of partnership that I am talking about. This is how NCCU is helping to transform the world and contributing on the international stage. This program is one of many we are planning to see flourish at this university. We've asked ourselves the question, what unique programs can we offer to our international institutions of higher education to help them fill their critical workforce or industry needs? These are challenges that NCCU is equipped to solve as we continue to build on our already strong academic reputation. NCCU also has very close ties to Africa and the diaspora. It is also something that you will hear more about today during this symposium, as many of these leaders that you see here today will take the stage and talk about various activities and initiatives and efforts that are underway with our institution to put us on that international platform. Some of our alumni have even gone on to serve in high-ranking positions on the African continent on behalf of the United States government. And others have obtained key leadership appointments in their home countries. These distinguished alumni include Danielette Tucker Jackson, class of 1954, a native of Liberia, who, upon graduation, returned home to become the first female accountant in Liberia. She was the first woman and the first native of our country to serve as auditor for the Republic of Liberia. There is also alumna Mary Sharpless, class of 1965, who was appointed to serve as the ambassador to the Central African Republic in 2001 and has had a distinguished career in international affairs. Today, we are renewing and re-energizing our focus to make NCCU, our students, our faculty, leaders on the world stage. We join our friends across the world to lend our voices, our expertise, our research, our technological advances, and intellect to solving the world's most pressing problems. We will continue to strive, to learn, and to understand what it means to be neighbors and fellow citizens in an increasingly complex and interconnected world. Our campus is ripe with opportunities for our students and our faculty to lead dialogues that create discoveries around the world for efforts that drive political, environmental, economic, human rights, and trade issues. With strategic partners like you and a laser focus, we can make a tangible impact. Today, I wanted to say to you that we thank you for coming to help us to signal a new dawn on the international stage. I'll talk a little bit more tomorrow about this in my installation speech. I invite you to be a part of that. I want to thank each of you for coming today to lend your voices and your expertise as we engage this inaugural international symposium at North Carolina Central University. If we can be of any service to you, if we can do anything today to make your visit even more enjoyable, please do not hesitate to ask. Again, on behalf of our students, 8,100 plus, our faculty, our alumni, and the entire community at NCCU, we welcome you to our campus today. And we ask you to enjoy this conversation. And let's work together to make the world a better place for all of us. Thank you so much.
Chancellor, that was remarkable. Now you see why I did not enter into going through the program, because he covered it. And as educators, we have to be mindful of how we communicate to connect, not just communicate. You have summarized exactly what we envisioned when we sat down in your office and thought about what we're going to do in this symposium. As you have the program, as the next panel starting, we arrange the panels and the presentation in a way that they kind of enhance the dovetail with each other. So I wish you can see the whole students up there. So if the students can come down here on the floor closer, because they couldn't find seats, it would be okay. We want to have a dialogue, not a speaker or presentation. We want to have a discussion. And as you can see, the program, and I did not talk about it in entirety because I wanted you to read and interact, and then you see which session you would like to be able to attend and to join. I know we are transitioning, and as we switch to the next discussion, I want to say thank you for that wonderful, remarkable ways. I have to invoke you always have to invoke your model's motto and experience. Paulo Freire, who wrote the book about the pedagogy of the oppressed. And as educator, as a professor in education, I be remiss not to quote one of the powerful quote he left with us. He said, all education is political, for we either educate to liberate or educate to dominate, which is the purpose of the education. And liberating is what Chancellor just went through, because it shows how we empower our young people, embrace them, and to bring them to the next level of knowledge, because today is not about going international over there, but is preparing the local young person to understand how his or her experience here impacts global, and also what global impacts their local. And that's why we had a panel designed to bring this collaborative nature of how do we access that. So the dialogue or symposium is supposed to really reflect that. So I would like to say that we could not have done this without the collaboration of the Global Peace Foundation, who was the first foundation when we have signed the MOU, which you're going to see later on, which to kind of connect us with the world, with the 24 countries where there are chapters in. The RTI, Research Triangle Institute, which is part of our institution, which was started for the UNC system, and the Triangle and the North Carolina system, in community, we bridge the community, the industry, and also with the RTI's collaboration, we're going to embark on engaging to really, really embed them in the community in terms of growing communities. I would like to say that also my committee, my International Affairs Committee, which I left behind, so to kind of bring it now while we are getting ready, is that I cannot emphasize this was not done by me, it was done by us in the committee, Faculty Senate Committee on International Affairs. And then in addition to collaborating with the Office of International Affairs and also leadership, and we have, that's why we had to bring this discussion so we can create a foundation for future. And the themes, they are in the program. I'm not going to bore you with reading the themes. We selected the themes so we can see how education is the umbrella of all sciences, and it's a matter of making sure that we touch everybody. The committee was in co-chair of committee for the symposium is my friend and brother Acha Debella, who is a co-chair, who is also chair of the Faculty Senate Committee on International Affairs. We did that to integrate the faculty, because as you know, students come and go, administrators come and go, but faculty stay. And the staff, we cannot forget that. So I'm not going to tell all the names, but I think we will have time to share their names and as we do our final remarks. I would like to, without further ado, to prepare for the next panel.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Olivia Metzger-Jones, and I'm the moderator for our first panel this morning, Grassroots Peace Building, Education, Entrepreneurship, and Youth Leadership. Before I introduce our panelists, I want to say congratulations to Dr. Akinleye and to welcome all our dignitaries this morning. This is really an auspicious occasion, and we thank you all for coming. I'm pleased to introduce our panelists for this session. They are, on my immediate left, Alan Inman. He serves as president of the Global Peace Foundation USA, headquartered in Washington, D.C. He previously served as national director for the Institute for Responsible Fatherhood, where he oversaw programs in 11 U.S. cities. Inman has also served as chairman of a New York Community Planning Board and as a consultant for the city. He was a member of the White House Domestic Advisory Council, formed following the police beating of Los Angeles resident Rodney King in 1991. He is an international consultant and the author of The Colors of Love, a book on family relationship. On Inman's left is David Caprara, and he is Vice President for Strategic Partnerships with the Global Peace Foundation in Washington, D.C. also. He also serves as a non-resident fellow with the Brookings Institution, where he researches international volunteering and service policies and their impact. He formerly directed faith-based and community initiatives at the Corporation for National and Community Service and Volunteers in Service to America, VISTA. Caprara led the International Roundtable on Volunteering and Service with Points of Light Foundation and the Corporation for National and Community Service. He has worked on a variety of government initiatives, including a gang intervention project and the Congressional Empowerment Caucus. Next to him is Kuldeep Kuahara. She is professor of English at NCCU, who researches and teaches in the field of literature and peace studies, contemporary multi-ethnic literature, the intersection of race, class, and gender in African and Asian diasporic literature, and she has collaborated with Mahatma Gandhi's granddaughter, Ella Gandhi, and with the Global Peace Foundation in Washington. Kuahara was a British Council scholar at the University of Edinburgh, UK, and a National Endowment for the Humanities Fellow at the University of California, Santa Barbara. She is the author of Jane Austen at Play, Self-Consciousness, Beginnings, Endings. She has initiated peace circle meetings at NCCU to raise the level of peace consciousness on campus and in the community. And last but not least is Daniel Juma Omondi, who is Executive Director of the Kenya chapter of the Global Peace Foundation. In this role, Omondi has led the Kenya chapter in working with educators and stakeholders to reform the country's education system into a competency-based curriculum and equip students with character, creativity, and other 21st century skills that enable them to succeed in life. Before joining the Global Peace Foundation, He worked with the Korean Government Trade and Investment Promotion Agency for 11 years. He is an advocate for the peaceful reunification of North and South Korea. He is also a member of Africa 2.0, a Pan-African network of young leaders. I have taken some time to give you a short background of our panelists here. And as you know, our topic for this session is grassroots peace building, education, entrepreneurship, and youth leadership. Let's give our panelists a round of applause to welcome. And now we will hear from the panelists as they tell us how they relate to any or all aspects of the topic for discussion. I will give it up to you, 5 minutes each, for you to talk to us about what you see as your role in furthering what it is that helps us to build peace in these different aspects. To you, Alan.
Well, good morning, Eagle's Nest. And thank you very much, Dr. Jones. And in fact, let me give another greeting to the Eagles in the room. I'm reminded of my time here on this campus, and I won't completely date myself, but let's just say that it was a few decades back. I can remember arriving, Dr. Jones, as a freshman for orientation and being given my beanie to wear as a freshman. Now, I don't even think freshmen coming in at this era into this august university receive beanies at this time. However, we were very proud when I arrived here to be running around the campus and across these roving hills with a little beanie on, Dr. Akinley. So maybe you should reinstitute if they don't have beanies now. Anyway, to say that I'm proud to be back here with the esteemed Chancellor, Dr. Akinley, and with Dr. Matija and others of the committee that we've been working with is a major understatement. I was in conversation with my beautiful wife who's in the audience last night, and we were just simply reflecting on how the grace of God would see fit for me to be returning after so many decades. So thank you, Dr. Akinley, for this incredible and beautiful opportunity to be here with not only all of you, but with my colleagues from the Global Peace Foundation. Peace building. There are organizations all over the world involved with peace building. There would be organizations that are involved service for peace, organizations that are involved health for peace, dialogue for peace, religion for peace, etc., etc. However, allow me, if you would, to leave with you a few thoughts connected with the work and the peace building of the Global Peace Foundation. Actually, all of you, and in fact everyone, it would be drawn all the time to challenges and issues where we have to engage in peace building within our lives. We're involved with personal relations where there's challenge or issues that pop up that require us to compromise, require us to take a moment to engage in conversation and dialogue, to attempt to work through the challenges that we might confront. So peace building is not foreign to any human being on the earth. However, when we consider what are the requirements, what are the real elements for successful peace building, then I think we have to take a moment to be very reflective. The Global Peace Foundation, as its name implies, is about peace building throughout the world. It is a non-sectarian organization that uses a values-based approach on the foundation of moral and innovative leadership in its peace-building efforts. Values-based approach on the foundation of moral and innovative leadership in its peace-building efforts. The Global Peace Foundation, in its field activities in over 20 nations around the world, in its educational activities, and in its regional and international conferences and conventions, affirms the common bonds and identity of all people, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of religion, regardless of nationality, as members of one family under God. Remember, I said we were non-sectarian. That basically means non-religious. But just as this country of the United States uses a motto, one nation under God, even in its governmental activity, it recognizes a common connection to citizens. Therefore, that is the motto and mission statement of the Global Peace Foundation, that we are connected as one family under God. Now, why is that so incredibly important? We have many, many things that separate us. We have race that separate us. We have nationality that separate us. We have education that separates us. We have skin color that separates us. We have hair texture that separates us. The question is, what is it that we have in common that supports the fact that we have a bond of identity? That single point is the fact that we come from one origin. We come from one creator. And by the way, science supports that in absolute terms. You know, I'd like to give an example of this idea of identity that separates, and then the question is, what is it that brings us together? Some of you looking at me as an example here, other than the fact that you heard that I attended North Carolina College at the time, several decades back, would look at me and wonder, well, what is this guy's identity? What is this guy's ethnicity? What is this guy's nationality? I'm going to give you an example of my experience on the continent of Africa. I went into Cote d'Ivoire to do a major service project. And while there, I had the opportunity to work hand in glove and in the trenches with my fellow Africans and those of Cote d'Ivoire. And I had the opportunity to explain to several. Actually, I'm a black man. And I never forget the young lady looking at me like I was crazy. Excuse me? I said, yes. And I attempted to explain that in the United States, even one drop of black blood, Brother Juma, makes you black. Okay? I never forget, but the young lady looked at me and she said, no, you're white. I went a couple years later over to Nigeria for an international conference. And I had an opportunity there to befriend some real brothers, let's say. And I was able to explain the same thing to those that I had befriended. And all of a sudden, my time is up? 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Let me conclude by saying this. That in that discussion in Nigeria, it was accepted completely. And the brother that I spoke to spread the word throughout the other Nigerians. This is a black man. My point in conclusion is this. What is the common bond of shared values that we can come to from which we can build and have cooperative developmental relationship to make a difference together? If we can't find that common bond of shared values, we can never use dialogue to bring about peace at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alan. Never give an eagle a mic who is passionate about what he does. Okay, we know about a common bond as human beings. I will now ask David to continue the discussion. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jones. Your Majesties, traditional rulers of Ghana and Nigeria, Chancellor Akinle and other dignitaries, Bethlina and the student movement here today, faculties, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Global Peace Foundation International and our chairman, Dr. Hunjin Preston Moon, let us congratulate Chancellor Akinle for your historic inauguration and the launch of this timely symposium. What a great brand and name, global engagement, and international cooperation. I just returned Sunday from Uganda and also Nairobi, and a kickoff last Thursday at State House, as well as meetings with Makerere University, setting the stage for an August 1st to 3rd Global Peace Leadership Conference, East Africa, which will be convened under His Excellency's leadership under the theme, Moral and Innovative Leadership, New Models for Peace and Development. We warmly invite you. The website is dplc2018.org. At the launch last week at State House with the cabinet and leaders from East Africa, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni commended what he called the anatomy of peace building employed by the Global Peace Foundation in Africa and 23 nations worldwide, and called for us to step up the model across the region. The peace-building model is multi-sector, holistic, encompassing solutions to identity-based conflict, linkage of economic prosperity and peace, cultivating the moral and innovative leadership vision that I will say your Chancellor in every respect embodies in his life and his call to a higher good, through programs like Character and Creativity Initiatives. I was glad to hear, Doctor, that we have a common friend in Ella Gandhi, and when I was in Durban meeting with her, she stated how Gandhiji talked about his vision of peace and entrepreneurship, but the root of that had to be on the foundation of good character. So I think that's a concern we share that you'll hear more from Daniel Juma about. The vital role of women is crucial to this peace model in the Peace in the Home campaign. And importantly, maybe most importantly, the power of young leadership in service to their nation and world today, reflected by the distinguished NCCU student body here today. In his State House speech, His Excellency of Uganda, which you can find, by the way, on their Facebook and Twitter feed, President Museveni went on to enumerate the conflicts. He gave a mind map of the whole continent of Africa, and including sectarianism, identity-based conflicts, which of course he said is not the majority case, but still a challenge nonetheless. And echoing the words of our chairman and what Mr. Inman pointed out, the undergirding principles for peace, Nobel laureate Archbishop Desmond Tutu in South Africa put forward Ubuntu in his last book entitled God Has a Dream. We're family. So you see, regardless of the culture or creed you find in India, I think you use Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world house or family. Certainly we need this sort of overarching vision as was articulated. So GPF believes that along with these tactical, holistic elements, at the top there have to be undergirding principles and values to inspire us to effective and results-oriented peace building, which we have piloted in hotspots from Kaduna in Nigeria, dealing with the Boko Haram challenge, in the Rift Valley in Kenya, following the post-election violence, and indeed the current hottest spot on the planet today, Northeast Asia, the Korean Peninsula issue that we saw the recent opening through the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics. And so, Chancellor and faculty, we do believe that the power of research, evidence by third parties, such as this august institution, are crucial, and Daniel Juma will reinforce that with the body of work that the leading think tank in Kenya has validated. The President of Uganda also called for further research on the model. So we're pleased today, here at this inaugural ceremony, to announce that Makerere University, some have called it one of the Harvards of Africa, the Makerere University Business School in Kampala, Uganda, has agreed to partner with NCCU and GPF in our new hub called the Global Community Partnership Hub. I delivered the business card to the Chancellor and the faculty last week, but they were unanimous. We actually had a big event there last week, and we agreed to join together in an ongoing program of academic research, student service learning, and practicums, furthering peace and development, advancing the 2030 goals. I know we have colleagues here today from RTI. We have colleagues here today from Nigeria, Ife Business School. So this collaborative effort is an open source platform. Come, so whoever will, to the Chancellor's call, that we may indeed be peacemakers and bring impact. Professor Kawahara, our fellow panelist from India, has also collaborated with a very special man, Pramod Sharma, in Chandigarh, India, and his Global Peace Youth Fest. He's the most Gandhian man I know on the planet, near the Punjab region, close to the border of Pakistan. We have launched with him in both Asia and Africa regional service youth-oriented alliances and partnerships, advancing this vision, rooted again in these deep values of peace builders like Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela. The role of young leaders will be featured in East Africa, convening in August 1st, in South Asia in May, a Smart and Green Cities Conference in Kathmandu, Nepal, showcasing social business models that we want to get the business school here engaged in looking at, with partners such as IBM, building coding technologies for youth, and social business funds, inspired by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus. We also invite NCCU students to participate in the International Young Leaders Assembly at the World Bank and United Nations this August. Details are at www.iyla.info, or see Mr. Inman about sending a delegation. In closing, I would like to echo the remarks at Makerere University, which I made last week together with former Zanzibar President Amani Karume, who chairs our leadership mission in Africa. We recently marked the 50th anniversary, earlier this month, of Dr. King's tragic assassination in Memphis, Tennessee. And on Saturday, as I was departing Kampala, we watched from the airport in Entebbe the funeral of Winnie Mandela. Each of these movements of peace builders was ignited by students in the front. Those of you here, it was so wonderful to meet our Kenyan sister that's leading, indeed, the student movement. And so I hearken you to the fact that the American civil rights movement indeed began here in North Carolina as well with the student movement. So as we take up this task of education and research in peace and development, may we link it to that Kingian vision for nonviolence, peace, justice, and equity, and empower the students on campus here at NCCU as the new generation vanguard, carrying forward the dream, as Dr. King said, I don't know what the future holds, but I know who holds the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dave. Thank you. And we know good character is important, and the fact that this is a peace panel, we realize how important that is. Well, now I'll go over to Kuldeep Kouahara and ask her to talk to us. If you know Kuldeep on campus and you talk to her, the first word would be hello. The next word would be peace. So, can we hear from you, please, Kuldeep?
Thank you. Is this on? Can you hear me? Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being here. It's a very auspicious occasion, and I'm just delighted that peace consciousness is at the forefront of this. And we talk of globalization. A lot happening in the world, bombs falling, people being killed, all that's in the news. Very concerning. As an educator, what really concerns me is the inner spirit of peace. And so as I teach my classes, no matter what I do, I hope that the students leave with a higher sense of defining peace and also taking up the challenges toward that. In fact, when I think of peaceful people, Mahatma Gandhi comes to mind, Martin Luther King Jr. comes to mind, Pope Francis, Dalai Lama, Maxine Hong Kingston, Desmond Tutu. There are just so many models of peace. And I really, when I there's all of us sitting on the stage here and we're talking of partnering with the Global Peace Foundation, it gives us so much strength to know that we are together in this. We just need to be more visible and connect more dots. Because as we go to classes, the students are so ready to learn. In fact, we have to learn from our students. Recently, I had organize a peace circle. It was called Students Protest, High School Students Protest, and it was with the Men's Achievement Center on our campus to reflect on the student protests, which of course, even Martin Luther King's granddaughter, 9-year-old granddaughter, who spoke up and said, I have a dream. I'm the granddaughter of Martin Luther King, who had a dream that all people would sit together and be recognized not for the color of their skin, but the content of character. And then she said, she's just 9 years old, I too have a dream. And I don't know, I don't think I'm quoting her, but she said, no more guns, period. I want a gun-free world. A good start for a 9-year-old, and a great start for all of us who listen to these children. I want to say a little bit about my hope that as a faculty member on this campus, so aware of the GEC courses we offer, I would recommend that there be a GEC course on conflict resolution, peace building. There should be a mandatory course for all students at NCCU to take, a course in peace building. And as an example, I can cite the example of my hometown in Chandigarh, India, that David has also been involved in. In the city of Chandigarh, this is the capital of Punjab state in India, there's a big statue. Well, it's not a statue, it's a cement hand right on the Supreme Court building. I don't know if you've seen it. It's the open hand, open to give, open to receive. And in that city, it is now mandatory for high school students to, before they graduate, they must take one course in peace studies. I was very happy to know of that. And my friend Pramod Sharma, who's a common friend of ours, is a graduate of the Department of Gandhian and Peace Studies in Chandigarh, Punjab University. And actually, I've worked with Punjab University students and founded a peace club there. So there's a lot of good happening, a lot that we need to do. On a personal note, my own interest in peace studies goes back to actually Of course, the way I grew up in India with the campus, Punjab University, the Gandhi Peace Center, beautifully surrounded by these palm trees and lush flowering gulmohar and colorful amalthas trees, and the pool reflecting all this. But the campus was always aware of this peace center. So students had that consciousness. I would love our campus here to have a peace center. And working with the Global Peace Foundation, I see a lot of hope in the good work we can do. But particularly after 9/11, I felt, and I questioned myself, as I teach, Homer's Iliad and the Mahabharata and all these epics, are we glorifying war in literature? And I wanted to make sure that every class I teach connected students to the need for peace. And so I have actually designed courses in peace studies on campus, and we founded this club. It's called the Citizens of the World Club. And then I founded, this was a peace initiative growing out of, in 2011, we had the International Peace Day, and we started these peace circles. So for the last 6 years on our campus, every month we've been organizing a peace circle across campus. So it's interdisciplinary. The point is to it's like throwing a stone in a pool of water. And you throw the stone and you have a circle. And then you have concentric circles spreading circles of meaning. The hope is that the peace circles will lead to higher and higher levels of peace consciousness. And so giving us this opportunity to talk about what we can do together is truly commendable, and I thank you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kuahara. And now, Daniel, it's your turn. But that doesn't mean that you have the rest of the hour. It's your turn. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. As they told you, my name is Daniel. I traveled all the way from Kenya to witness the inauguration of Professor Akinleye. And I'm very honored to represent Kenya in this event today. Nelson Mandela said that education is the most powerful tool that you can use to change the world. That's why we at the Global Peace Foundation in Kenya, our theory of change revolves around transforming education. So we say that we need to transform education, that education should be able to solve the problems of the world today. So we believe that peace is not just absence of war. And maybe you've heard about Kenya's problems. Kenya's problems revolve around elections. Every 5 years, we almost go to war just because of elections. And then why do people fight? Why do we fight every election years? As you know, in political science, they say, politics is about resources, allocation of resources and values. So in Africa, people fight over resources. Politicians want to be able to influence resources. That's why in Kenya, our theory of change revolves around youth empowerment, because our system of education basically offloads hundreds of thousands of youth every year into a job market that is already full. So you go to school, you graduate, there's no job. So that's why the programs that we do in Kenya revolves around transforming education. We have a main program called Character and Creativity Initiative, that we need to build persons of character. And as we do that, we also need to inculcate creativity amongst our youth, so that when you graduate from school, you know that there are no jobs. So you need to apply your creativity to create jobs. So we would like to basically churn out job creators as opposed to churning out job seekers. This is the norm today. Yeah. So I'm happy today, and I'm happy to be amongst brothers and sisters. I could see Njaramba from Kenya, the student leader here, and also Mutisia. My wife comes from Mutisia's village. And I come from the same village as your former president, Barack Obama. So I always tell Kenyans that President Obama may not have done so much for us in Kenya, but the fact that he made it possible, you know, he basically showed that it is possible, you know, to achieve any impossibility, you know, and that for me was the biggest gift that I ever got from President Obama. And I'm happy that leaders like Professor Kunle is leading here today. I'm really, really touched by your speech, and I think we look forward, even as I go back to Kenya, to see how we can work with your university to be able to transform education, to be able to see how students from NCCU, you know, can have linkages. You can come to Africa. Yesterday I had a meeting at the School of Law, and there's opportunities that we can be able to do together, to provide internships, you know, in areas of law, intellectual property, and so much. So I know that I mean, we don't have much time today, but I urge you, you know, as Alan Inman said, shared values is the most important thing. And we need to find out what are our shared values, what do we have in common, so that we are able to change the world. So thank you so much. Asante sana.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's give them all another round of applause. So we thank you so much. Well, now it's my prerogative to pose questions to our panelists. And I know one of the questions I was going to ask, Dr. Kwahara almost finished answering that question. And I was going to ask, first of all, what are some of the ways in which NCCU prepare its students to have a global education without the fear of losing the university's identity as an HBCU? I will ask that to our panelists.
Again, by just simply referencing the origin that I began with. So we all know that humankind and human beings originated on the continent of Africa. So if from a continent of black people, you can now have all of these various colors and cultures and so forth throughout the world, surely from a base of HBCU of African Americans, that base can contribute back to all the world without fear of losing its identity. Because the base of service to the world is what we are all as human beings built to accomplish, in my opinion. So I'll start with that and pass it on.
Thank you very much.
Okay. I think, yes, a great need to build a sense of identity. Who am I and where do I come from is important for all. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So that sense of self is important. But then one must transcend that. So to be a member of an HBCU, it's a nurturing environment. We and our students get that. But having got that, it's important to transcend it. We must then escape personality. I'm thinking of a poet, T.S. Eliot, who was talking about poetry. And I'll quickly just quote him. He said, poetry is not the expression of personality, it is an escape from personality. And sort of to break it up, he was talking about the greatest artists need to be objective. Objectivity in art is important. And then he goes on to say, and I'll repeat a part of it, poetry is not the expression of personality, but an escape from personality. But only those who have a personality know what it means to want to escape from such things. You know, so this sense of, after building one's personality and identity, one must not be obsessed by it and absorbed, totally self-absorbed. We must transcend then. To know myself is good, but then to connect with community is extremely important. And here I can see the East-West consciousness. Individualism is good. It's a value. But then if it shouldn't lead to loneliness or isolation. We must connect. And so I think I like to bring my East-West consciousness as a point of balance here.
Thank you very much. I'm sure my next question would also be handled very well. In the recent past, we have witnessed youth leadership in the Black Lives Matter movement, in the Enough is Enough movement, where students from the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Florida stood up, and others relating to gun violence in the US. What is the role of the university in supporting this leadership in building world peace? And I'll give that to any of the panelists.
University, after all, the word educare, to lead out, is an empowerment institution of young leadership, both in career but in dispositions of service. And in that regard, I think history passes by at certain times. And to have a Dr. Akinle and a Philip Leticia, and I could go on, professor here, to have the caliber of faculty, Dr. DeBella, each of your colleagues, and the illustrious student president, I really think I'd like to turn the answer back to her, because students should answer this question. But I think fundamentally the university is a leadership building institution. I do want to acknowledge Keith Anderson.
This. We know that in different parts of the world, students graduate and do not get jobs. So my question is educating students to become entrepreneurs the answer to preparing our students for living in an ever-changing workforce?
Yeah, thank you. I think this is the only way that we must go. And especially the role of university is very, very critical. Because look at it this way. In Africa, for example, we have hundreds of thousands who don't go to the university. And then out of that necessity, because they didn't go to the university, they actually go out of their way to create opportunity. They sell vegetables in the streets. They sell shoes. They do blue-collar jobs. But if you look at it, university graduates, they wait for 4 years to graduate, and then they start looking for jobs that are not there. And then as soon as they graduate, you know, the people who never went to the university, who have been entrepreneurs and have created companies, hire the graduates. You know, they hire you to work for them as accountants. So think of it. I mean, I think we need to change the mindset. So the university should be able to lead, because it is in the university that we have research. Why don't you utilize research to create opportunity, to find out why don't we have jobs, and find out how can we create more jobs? So I think this is the best way. I mean, especially the university, and I'm happy that University of Northern Carolina will be leading through our cooperation. We can find out how can this university be the university that churns out job creators through entrepreneurship, rather than churning out job seekers. There are no jobs.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I did say that if we had any burning question from the audience, I would ask for that. Is there any burning question? We have our panelists with us all day long. Yes, can I take that just quickly, please? Yeah, just one. Mm-hmm. thank you very much for that comment. And I'm sure that we will deliberate on that as you interact with the panelists during the course of the day. I want to say thank you very much to our panelists this morning, and I would like for us all to give them a big round of applause. And
we will take just a few minutes to transition. If you're leaving, would you please exit quietly? It seems like we are ahead of our session. All right, thank you. Can we quickly take our seats so that we can introduce our guest speaker today?
Two.
Could we please settle down so that we can continue our program? Thank you. Great Eagle morning, everyone. May I hear a response? Great. Okay. Chancellor, global dignitaries, program participants, and our Great Eagle family. It is truly an honor for me to stand before you to introduce our guest speaker, His Royal Majesty, Drolo Boso Adante I, Swapola of the Seshai Traditional Area, Ghana, West Africa. I know many of you are wondering, he is the Swapola. What does that mean? Well, since we are here, and we will now explore commonalities between diverse cultures today, I will tell you what the title Swapola means in His Royal Majesty's culture. It means pathfinder, the waymaker. In August 1999, His Royal Majesty was coronated Swapola and Neyamachi and of the Seshai people in Ghana. This was the first time in history that all of the kingmakers and kings nominated one king to lead them and the Seh people into holistic progress and development. His major responsibilities include providing visionary leadership to the Council of Kings through strategy building, aiming to positively affect the lives of the Seshai people locally and globally. His Royal Majesty represents the Seshai Traditional Council in multiple areas, including but not limited to government negotiations, land acquisition, sand, gravel, and quarry operations, as well as national and international affairs. His Royal Majesty views education as key to development of his people's growth and development. His abilities to rule effectively as Swapola has been positively enhanced by his love of education. In 2013, he graduated from the University of Massachusetts at Amherst with a Doctor of Education degree with a concentration in social justice education. As a result, social injustices against his people have become a driving force for His Majesty as he serves as Swapola, the pathfinder, the waymaker. He sees his goal as being one of looking for and finding creative ways to uplift his people, educate them, create jobs, build infrastructure, and provide health facilities to make sure his people advance in all areas of their lives. In 2014, His Royal Majesty was appointed Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies in Accra, Ghana. As a result of his effective strategic planning for UPSA and his global networking skills, he was recruited in 2017 to serve as Chancellor of the new Caribbean Maritime University in Kingston, Jamaica. His Majesty envisions his dual chancellorship roles as advisory to assist in developing educational collaborations between both growing educational institutions that will significantly impact positive global growth and development. He is the founder and chairman of the Drola Center for Strategic Leadership at UPSA in Accra. He has established an academic scholarship fund for students attending the Drola Center and also one here in the RTP area. His Majesty is co-owner and chair of the Governing Council of Lawe Open University College, established in 2014 as the first accredited open university college in Ghana. His Royal Majesty is considered a transformational world leader. Because of increasing political, economic, and social unrest, leaders from nations around the world seek his counsel on growing global issues such as conflict resolution, social justice, international relations, leadership, resource mobilization, and African economic development. His views on business, education, and government have afforded him the opportunity to speak to audiences in more than 100 countries throughout the world. A positive thinker and motivator, this ruler views social problems as challenges, waiting for the right moment in time to be solved. A dynamic, motivational speaker and relationship builder, His Royal Majesty believes that if you inspire others, they will motivate themselves. He aspires to instill not only hope, but a measurable improvement in the lives of people. This visionary believes that environmental subsistence has to improve significantly for all people of the world, regardless of nationality, race, religion, or ethnicity. His Majesty seeks to bring attention to injustices against Africa created by countries seeking to control its natural resources. Improving the lives of people in the African diaspora, as well as restoring the wealth and cultural resources of the Seshai traditional area, is a primary objective of his. His Royal Majesty is an educator, author, humanitarian, TV personality, and an astute businessman. A leader who works tirelessly to improve the lives of others, and because gender stratification is a major poverty issue for women around the world, His Royal Majesty has recently joined forces with an organization called the Global Forum of Women Entrepreneurs to ensure that female business owners engage in successful global business. As advisory board chairman, His Majesty will host the official launch of the Global Forum of Women Entrepreneurs in London this Friday and Saturday. Just in case you want to know, he has been married for 36 years to the lovely lady Martha Fletcher from Mexico. And they have two beautiful daughters, Anna Cassell and Demarius Joy. Everyone, please stand and extend a fantastic eagle welcome to our distinguished guest speaker, His Royal Majesty Drolo Boso Adamti I.
Thank you so very much. I'm humbled by this introduction. May I take a moment to acknowledge Chancellor Johnson Akinleye, my friend, Vice Chancellors, Deans, faculty, staff, students, and the entire North Carolina University community. I am pleased to be with you this morning and also to participate in this international symposium, Era of Change, Global Engagement and International Collaboration. I'd like to just mention 4 major points. First, I'd like to talk about the changing world. Second, I'd like to address the need for collaboration and partnership. Third, I would like to deal with realities and challenges to sustainable partnerships and collaboration.
And fourth, action. The world today is not as big and distant as it once was. And as you know, not too long ago, Africa, which can be reached by 7-8 hours, than North Carolina to California, was known as the dark continent because little was known about her. But now through technology and various platforms, you can reach almost anywhere in the world in less than a second by a click of a button. That means we are connected virtually. Online learning, e-commerce, social media, video conferencing, and on and on. So through technology, we can say that we are not just dealing with here and there, but we're dealing or talking today about connecting globally for engagement and also collaboration. Let me just talk about the need for collaboration and partnerships. It is very important and it's quite critical that we broaden our base and learn how to operate trans-globally. It is also important for us to not focus on one track, as most of us were trained to do one thing at a time. But in this 21st century, one is forced, literally forced, to be versatile, collaborative, open to new ideas and ways of doing things, and also multitask. No one should live as an island unto himself or themselves. We need one another. It is more important now than ever. And we need genuine collaboration for mutual benefits and success on all levels, including human development. I have a very important question that I'd like to ask us, and that is, have we come to the point where we realize the need of solving global problems? Or what problems are we solving for humanity? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. What problems are we solving for humanity, and are we contributing to make the world better, or just talking about what is going wrong in the world? Honestly, it is time for us to come together to create solutions, and I mean positive ones, that can address some of these critical concerns and challenges that faces the world. It is very true that most of the challenges we have in the world today has been created by mature men. And the solution to solve these problems is left for young ones. And it is rightly so that often we forget the importance and the creativity of young people and what they can bring to bear. We create debts for them as governments or nations for them to come and solve. We create divisions, strife, wars, disturbances, and we want them to come clean it up. Truly, we can't do it in isolation. The world is not just one place. The world is one place but distributed in different continents and different places. We need to collaborate. It's a must. We also need genuine partnerships that ends in win-win situation. Not just one winning and others losing, but everyone winning. And to do such, we have to bring something tangible to the table in order for this collaboration to be sustainable. And even though in these collaborations is equal sacrifice, not necessarily equal giving. In every relationship, one has to gain more than the other. And in all relationships, one stands to benefit But if we understand what we're looking for and the importance of our connectivity, I believe we'll be able to get headway. Let me talk a little bit about realities and challenges to sustainable partnerships and collaboration. We're all sitting here today acknowledging and congratulating and extending trust in our Chancellor. We're also sitting here talking about this being the first and hopefully not the last innovative gatherings of such, and bringing like-minded individuals to create this conversation or build this conversation until a movement is formed and solutions come out of it. Let me just tell you some of the realities and the challenges that can either affect what is attempted to be done here or to help it to grow. Is lack of creativity. When we lack creativity, when we lack openness, and we begin to entertain the fear of the unknown, we can create hindrances and obstacles to this great collaboration we're talking about. So may I put it this way: lack of creativity, lack of openness, and the fear of the unknown can be a deterrent, a major deterrent to global engagement and international collaboration. If institutions like such is talking about collaboration, then consider how many institutions are thinking about it. But the fact that you're thinking about it doesn't make a difference. Thinking about it, talking about it, and making it happen is what is needed. And I commend this wonderful university, and I commend Chancellor and leadership of this institution and the organizers of this gathering to make sure that what is started here never ends, but what is started here continues until results are attained and the vision for which this came about is fulfilled. Some of the challenges to sustainable partnerships are when we continue to operate with old mindsets. Old mindsets can also be a deterrent. We've always operated in the box. And if you're in academia, this is an area where you find struggles. I remember when I did my first 2 doctoral programs, my PhD in philosophy and doctorate in theology, before I decided to go back to do education. I was challenged because I felt the continent of Africa needs a boost. I also realized that we can do more than just seeking open recognition, just giving yourself to service or to a vision that will benefit lives, and finding common grounds and those who share common vision, bringing them together and creating solutions to help the world. I saw it as something that ought to be done, and I realized for so long that we've operated within the box. And I tell you the truth, when I started to operate in the areas of my conviction, there were well-meaning people who told me, you can't do this. And there were those who actually said to me in the early days of my life, you are too young to think this way. You are too black to think this way. And you have so much of an accent that your Africanness will disqualify your attempts. And you know, in life, that's the way it is. But in the end, when you can't beat them, you join them. I believe the greatest challenge is not this moment, but when you still have people with old mindsets who want to hold you to the old boxes. Don't try to get the kind of results this collaboration is attempting to get with old mindset structures. You know, there are those who are bold enough to, from time to time, move out of the box. You either operate in the box or outside the box. But from time to time, you find people like Dr. or Chancellor Akinleye who not only operate outside the box, but is willing to create new boxes. This is what he's called for. And I believe this vision will not die. But let's also remember, there are those who be for you, and many be for this vision, to see this become a reality. And the goal here is to create something so rich, so attractive, so beneficial, creating a platform where other institutions, others will say, you know what, I've got a boat, you've got a net, let's go out and fish, and let's share the spoil. And one of the things we have to understand is that often black people, our people, we choose to fail alone rather than succeeding in partnerships and collaboration. And from time to time, the crabology keeps us to see at the bottom of the barrel instead of pushing others up, so we all come up. But I believe that you come into a place and a turning point where this university has to make a decision. Either you're going to go forward or you're going to go backward. I do believe that all the guests, as I was listening to the panelists, who have come from various places, dignitaries, educators, scholars, students, I believe that there's an excitement in the air. There's such an expectation. I mean, everybody's looking forward to what the Chancellor is about to bring, but I am here particularly to say I see something brewing, something new happening. The foundation has been laid by great administrators and great leaders of this wonderful university. But they've given you a mandate. A baton is passed. There's a changing of the guards. And something has to be written in history. And that is, this time, we are going to add to what this university represents. Global engagement and international collaboration, so that we make this university critical. We make this university practical. And we make this university influential in solving some of the challenges that faces our world. If you're in education, which I believe most of us are, we are realizing that the classroom is only a place to prepare the students to go face their challenges. And if you allow me to just say something here, we should not train people to go look for jobs, because if you train people to look for jobs, they'll be creating jobs. Job brings job, and when you bring a job, somebody's going to die. They have to create works. And imagine if we were to put certain structures in place in educational exercise, most of us wouldn't waste enough money in going to university, do graduate programs, only to realize that what degrees you've attained isn't what you are really interested in. We waste money, we waste resources, because some of the trainings and educational exercise that we engaged in over the years didn't prepare us at the age of 6, 7 years old to determine what our calls are, what our missions are, what our interests are. Because for Africa in particularly, I will speak for me in Ghana, we grew up in a culture where anything you try to do, you are warned to be careful. You are more afraid of the devils and the witches than believe in your own vision and dreams. Our initiatives were cut short. And it's very interesting, as I look around and I look at some of the great political movements in Africa, most of our politicians are very good, but they don't have international outlets because they didn't train themselves or allow themselves to build bridges. Some came to universities here, some of the best universities, back there practicing not just politics, engaged in serious politics, but they don't know how to communicate beyond their borders. So collaboration is lacking. I do believe that today we are interested in going beyond what we have here. We are interested in leaving a legacy. And also we are interested in changing lives positively. That should we transition, others will say they stood on our shoulders and our inspiration to do what they were called to do. Last year, I happened to be in Morocco by the invitation of the King of Morocco to receive the Gold Award. Whilst I was there, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Education, with their leadership, approached me and they said, we came all the way to Morocco to fetch you. We have a college that is transitioning into a university status, and we've been looking for you to come and be our chancellor. And I said, no, I'm already a chancellor of a public university in Ghana. They said, we're not going to take no for an answer. We need you because we believe that if we have you in our university, you will connect our university and help us to do great things in the world because we know what you are doing in the world. By the way, our roles as chancellor, we are not advisors to the universities. We are the head of the university. So let's get it straight. Because gone are the days when you have an educator to just be a chancellor. You're looking for individuals who have global connection and global reach, who can create visibility for the university, and also make sure that the strengths of the university is built within its programs, and virtually make the university an attractive place to ignore. I do believe this is what Chancellor Akinleye you bring into this university. And this is what excites me. And this is why I am here today, to join you in celebrating and also seeing this inaugural symposiums becoming a reality. And I can assure you that as long as you are a chancellor of this university, for collaboration purposes, all my best friends will come in here. And hopefully you'll bring money too. Let me make this point. As an African, one of the greatest challenges that we have is often we look for aids, grants, and sponsorship. Let's now try to bring something to the table. Let's go beyond the conventional exchanges and let's look for long-term relationships, which also accelerates innovation and enrichment. And let's now look at new markets. Let's not go to the old markets, the ones we always know, where 50, 70 people are in line for little money. Let's be creative, innovative, and look for new partners in building our institutions and moving our universities forward. Let me talk about an action. It will take me 2 minutes to wrap up. Let's focus on new power instead of old power. I would like to emphasize it again. Let's focus on new power instead of old power. We have to learn to operate on new platforms other than the old traditional platforms. And this very day, universities have to take lead in establishing partnerships that she didn't have before. When I accepted the role of the Chancellor for the Caribbean, I made a deal with them, with the Prime Minister and with the government. I said, listen, I'm going to bring my expertise, my enthusiasm, and my love for education here, but I would like to make sure that old hands, which would stifle or affect what we're trying to do, be replaced or enhanced with new tools so we do a better job. When you create an atmosphere of old guards and old structures, it can hinder new things. And as the good book says, You can't put new wine in old wineskin. At times you have old wines, and when you put new wines in, it will burst it. We have to actually look at the areas and the places where we're going and just make a difference. I told the university, I want to know the university foundation. They said, we have one. I said, who is in charge of it? They told me who was in charge of it, and I said, you know what, we have to form a new one. And I'm going to make sure that whatever penny we bring to this university, I watch over it. Because 1% of something good is better than 100% of nothing wonderful. Whoever brings a cow can eat the nose if they so choose. Let's focus on progressive markets. And let's also engage our institutions in the kind of partnerships that will not only benefit our universities, but benefits those industries. Right now in Caribbean Maritime University, which is quite new, yet it's right now one of the best universities in the Caribbean region. It's an international university, and we have incredible collaborations. And we are attempting to do more things. And some of the things we want to do is we've actually asked companies to relocate and build centers within our universities. We're going to offer them spaces to do so. I'm building in that university Drolo Center for Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Leadership as part of the program. Because there are people who are looking at education not from a traditional standpoint. They're looking for new systems, new ways to engage communities, engage countries, engage individuals across board. This is what I believe collaborations is needed. Sharing ideas, finding out how others are doing it, and getting ideas, but be open-minded without shutting doors. And one of the things that used to happen is, you see, and I say this in jest, when I came to America, one of the greatest fascination to me was that you see two teams, one from North Carolina and South Carolina. They play games and they call it the World Series. And I realized that in America, the worldview is this: America is the world. And there are some people, you'll be shocked, there are some people, there'll be faculties right here in this university who has never actually even gone to the Republic of Raleigh. And if you don't go outside, your worldview is limited. Your mind is limited. Because you become so traditional, but anything that is new, you try to kill it. Let's give room. Let's make room. And let's begin to afford ourselves opportunity to do new things. Now, I am so glad that this university has gotten the opportunity now to add to the total vision of the North Carolina university systems. You have what it takes. The mantle is on you now. And be open for collaborations and look for collaborations. And people are looking for you. Create incubation and let them say, since we partnered with NCCU, we have not regretted, but rather double our productivity. And also, we have also given back to NCCU what she's taught us or what she's given to us. Let's develop new skills. And also, let's make sure that new areas of research for the next generation workforce is built. Let's develop a pool of academia who also have proficient experience in global industry. And I want to say to you today, on behalf of the institutions I represent, we also extend partnership and collaboration And I'll share our Rolodex with you. And let's make sure we build together. Thank you. God bless you. God bless NCCU. And God bless America.
I say, wow. Thank you. Your Majesty, you fulfilled what I was expecting when we connected, and I appreciate it. As we transition for the next panel, I'd like to ask people maybe to come back after a little break, and then we can be ready for the next panel.
Dr. Maticia has informed me that I should have gotten started 3 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago. So I'm also aware that this second panel is between your lunch. And so what we're going to attempt to do is get started here and get you all to lunch as quickly as we possibly can. At NCCU, our motto of truth and service really sets the stage for this next conversation. Our students complete thousands of service hours in communities around the world, and our researchers here on campus are doing leading-edge research as it relates to health disparities. And they seek to address issues like food deserts, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, and others. I'll take a page from my First Lady, Juanita Akinlay's talk that she gave before the First Lady Walk a couple of weeks ago and share some information from the World Health Organization, which defines non-communicable diseases such as heart disease, stroke, cancer, chronic respiratory diseases, and diabetes as the leading causes of mortality in the world. This invisible epidemic is an underappreciated cause of poverty and hinders in the economic development of many countries. This panel on health and global engagement brings together 3 leaders in the field who are doing work both nationally and internationally. Dr. Rhonda Aleye, who spent time as a senior scholar in residence at the Center for Health Equity and Urban Science Education at Columbia University Teachers College, as well as being an alumna of its research group on health disparities. Dr. Barbara Pullen-Smith, who spent 2 decades working for the state of North Carolina, including the Division of Maternal and Child Health, where she addressed the adolescent pregnancy rates, and she also served as the first director of the North Carolina Office of Minority Health and Health Disparities. And Mr. Richard Joyner, founder of the Conito Life Center in Conito, North Carolina. You may know him as one of the CNN heroes from 2015 for his work in addressing food deserts and his garden, which addresses unhealthy lifestyles. Please welcome our panelists for this hour. So as I transition to my chair, kind of like Oprah does, I didn't get my cards put together, so I'm going to be reading from my paper. But Dr. Aleye, pronounce your name for me.
Alale, like lollipop.
Alale. All right. Dr. Alale, tell us about the work that you do. I know you're going to do a longer presentation and a demonstration later, but tell us about your time at Columbia. What got you interested in this environmental toxins area of work?
Well, first of all, I'm a registered nurse. I cut my teeth in nursing at Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. If there's any Grady Memorial Hospital babies in the house. So you know Grady had 41 babies per 8 hours. So when I got into, I moved from Atlanta to Washington, D.C., at a time when the drug crisis was leaving a lot of babies in the hospital. And they called it the Baby Border Program because the mothers were addicted. They'd go to the hospital, have their baby, and then they would leave and sneak out in the middle of the night. So there was like over 1,000 babies in the hospital left addicted to drugs. And I got called into that whole arena, and I became the nurse to one of these babies. And it was like this baby adopted me. I don't do pediatrics. I was just doing the temporary agency thing, just in for the weekend, getting that money for Christmas, And this baby came in, and it was crying in the night, and I went to get the baby and see about the baby. And all of a sudden, I just started talking to this baby. I said, look, you're going to wake everybody up in the nursery. What's the problem? Now, just calm down. They said, do you have any children? I said, no. They said, that's obvious. You don't talk to a baby like that. And this baby hooked me so tough, I adopted him. And then he went to become an American exchange student Went to Penang to go to high school. My husband died here. I was married to the Prince of Ijo, tribe of West Africa, Prince Charles Robinson Alale. And he said, I want you to go home to your father's village. Take our sons home to your village, because he adopted my children. And we went to this little small town I grew up in Ohio, and it was so radioactive. It had so many environmental illnesses that I got sick unto death. I developed breast cancer, and I had a slight stroke. And my son had a brain injury and lost his complete ability to learn his senior year of high school. When I knocked on the doors of my neighbors, every house on my street had somebody with cancer. And the young man in front of me, 39 years old, had died a few days after I moved in from pancreatic cancer. So I started my quest looking at the environment and health. And I'll stop right there because I don't want to take up my 5 minutes because I got showtime here.
Thank you. Dr. Barbara Pullen-Smith.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I'm really humbled to be on this panel, and congratulations, Chancellor Akinole.
Yes, Chancellor.
Really appreciate that. So I think you want to know a little bit about my story, how I came to this point, how I got into public health. Well, I grew up poor in eastern North Carolina, and how I learned that is because I watched TV. I didn't know that until I watched TV, that we were poor, but my father died when I was only 6 weeks old, so my mother was left, and I'm the youngest of 5. My mother was left to raise us without my dad. And when I got older, I learned that my father died from a condition that if he had access to health care, he probably would have lived a little longer. So that really, as a child, I knew I had to figure out, how do I help people be healthier? And so I thought I was going to go into nursing. My mother was a nurse. And then I learned about public health. I learned that I could actually be in position to influence the health of populations. I was in. So that's how I started my career in public health and training over at UNC Chapel Hill. But the work really started after the degrees, got into the state system, and then I said, oh my goodness, we're missing the point. Because if everything is just about how the state programs and the policies protect the system, then where are the people? How do we get to the people, and how do we help the people? So it was the most frustrating time. I mean, I worked in state government 27 years here in North Carolina, and the most frustrating part of that whole career, I had 30-some years in public health total, but the most frustrating part of the career was understanding that the social determinants of health had as much to do with being in poor health as did eating that pork chop. But yet, we didn't have access to the resources to address the social determinants of health. I didn't have jobs to give people, right? We weren't in position to address some of the food insecurity issues. Certainly, we didn't have money to give people. But the other challenging part was that oftentimes the people who were focusing on economic development for the people were not talking to those of us focusing on the health of the people. So that disconnect really always challenged me. And so we set out to flip the script. I think probably the greatest compliment that anyone ever gave me during my career in state government in North Carolina was, Barbara, you don't fit, and you don't think like everybody else in the system. Because I always knew that if I kept chasing program dollars, I would always be a great storyteller. So I say to the young people, do not get comfortable being a great storyteller. The storytellers quote the data and the health statistics all day long, but they don't deal with the people. They don't engage the populations. So once we flipped the script as an Office of Minority Health and stopped chasing the program dollars and started chasing the people who were serving the people, that's when things changed. And I have a couple models I'd like to share, but that's kind of how I got here. And I'm not going anywhere.
So Reverend Richard Joyner, Dr. Pullen Smith mentioned food deserts, and when I think about food deserts, I mentioned to you before, I think about James Johnson, who's going to be on a panel later today, but after watching your CNN hero videos, you're now the person that I think about when I think about food deserts. Tell us a little bit about how you got into your work.
Well, greetings, Chancellor. Bring you greetings from the eastern part of North Carolina. We're excited about the collaboration that we will have with you and the future growth of not only this state but the nation. So thank you. I grew up, I grew up in the eastern part of North Carolina, about 5 miles away from Dr. Johnson. We grew up together, and if anyone had told us that we were in a food desert, we wouldn't have believed it. There were 17 in my family, and we never had a hungry day. And so my mom was 4'9", and my father was 6'1". And not only did they raise children, they raised everything the children need. And so they didn't go to the grocery store. They just went out in the yard. They went out in the garden. So we were very self-sufficient. So we didn't understand this concept, and food desert. I only got to know food desert when I'm clinical pastor education in my job, full-paying job. If you're a Baptist preacher, you know it don't pay. You do that for Jesus. And he'll pay you when you get to heaven. So my full-time work is director of pastoral care for Nash UNC, invited in 27 counties. Only when I started pastoring, and most people call it Conto, and C-O-N-E-T-O-E is Conto all day long, except when you're sitting in my congregation, they don't like you to play with it. You can do a lot with demons, but you can't do much with deacons. Deacons will get rid of you. And so, my first process of pastoring in this rural area, only 300 people in population, something real strange happened there and unique. Every month we had funerals. At the end of that year, we had buried over 30 black males from the age of about 30 to 60. And chronic disease, high blood pressure starting out, obesity, unmanaged health that go into chronic health, end up on diabetes, and then end up in dialysis. And so, I didn't ask for this. God just give you stuff. God ain't always fair. And so, we wanted to look at how could we address this. Barbara and I did a lot of work together. And if you really want an unhealthy meal, come to the Baptist dinners. We can feed you everything you don't need and make you get happy about it. And so really wanting to look at this, realize that grants and other things were not going to be sustainable enough to get us out of this. And so Dr. Cunningham from Brody School of Medicine, that a good friend of mine, said to me one day, Jonah, you know that 98% of everything your people is dying from could be managed through food. And I said, well, I'll just go to the grocery store and get some. He said, no, that's not the way to do it. He said, you got to grow it. I said, no, I left sharecropping a long time ago. And I vowed to Jesus and everybody else that I'm not going back. And I sung that song, I Shall Not Be Moved. But, and we'll talk about it a little later, but, we figured out that we couldn't change food deserts by bringing grocery stores in. We had to take what we had and use it as a multi-layer opportunity to educate our children, sustain our community, create economics, and make it sustainable, and have it so my granddaddy said that D-all can't control it and stop it. And so that's how we kind of got into this process of food desert through faith-based understanding of faith, food, and health, and taking our health care out of the hospitals, our education out of the school systems, and putting it back in the community where it belongs.
So, Dr. Pullen-Smith, I'm going to put you on the spot. I've thrown the word health disparities around. It's been used a couple of times since we've started. Tell us about health disparities and why we should care.
Well, health disparities, of course, just simply talk about the differences in health among different population groups based on the majority population. And so we have to care because we are all part of this same community. And, you know, the good book talks about love your neighbor as yourself. Well, how can we love our neighbor as ourselves if we are, on the one hand, holding the hand of people in the community? So we say we want to partner with people in the community all the time. And so what we do, though, especially if we're in positions of leadership over a little bit of money and resources, we're holding the hands of the people in the community all day long while we're holding the resources over here. And that is the problem. So we have to care because the inequity is the maldistribution of the resources. We can't hold the resources and expect that the people are going to change or that the situation is going to change. So that's why I say when we were with the Office of Minority Health, we invested in the people more so than just holding on to the money and telling the story over and over again. So we have to care because we all pay. We all pay whether we like it or not. We pay, you know, it's like pay me now, pay me later. We pay all the time as a community. And the other thing that I think about, too, that, you know, it doesn't matter your situation. We all want the same thing. We all want our families to be healthy. We all want to live well. We all want to be successful at something. So it is our social responsibility. And I tell the kids, the students that I work with, that if you're in position, then it is your responsibility to give back. So you're being trained to give back. This is not even about you. And when we can flip that mindset that it is all about we get in position, we leverage resources, we learn how to give back, and we lift everybody up, because that's the only way we're going to have a healthy nation, or else we just will continue to be great storytellers.
And I just want to add to that. When we talk about health disparities, rarely you hear the conversation about environmental racism. Why? I mean, the Flint, Michigan water crisis was a wake-up call for the nation. And we have to look not just at the water. Why are there all of these cell phone towers in our communities? Why are the power transformers for the affluent communities? Why are they put in the low-income neighborhoods? That was a wake-up call for me. I brought this house in an area that was deemed a radiation zone 1, national sacrificial zone post-World War II. Massive tons of uranium were vaulted there. Uranium is a rock. Most of this uranium was harvested from the Belgium Congo. It was used in Cincinnati, Ohio, to make atomic warhead for bombs. When the war was over, they vaulted this. And they were supposed to put it many feet down in the dirt. Instead of whatever it was, 100 feet or 50 feet, they put it 8 feet down in the dirt. And it had contaminated the soil. It was making radon at high levels come up in everybody's house. And so the health disparities picture is really twofold. What's happening on the inside of your body from the processed foods, from the massive stress that's in most of our families, and then what's happening on the outside of your body. And it's amazing how God gives you these journeys. I'm a woman of God. and I'm a woman of prayer. And when God gave me this child that was born with a brain injury to the left side of the brain, I was his nurse, and this child clung to me. Every time I come in the room, he would clap like I was a celebrity. I tell my son to this day, you adopted me. You might as well get this story straight. And what's amazing, he looks like my twin now. 6'9", and you know God has an imagination. And so here I'm caring for this son. He is an American exchange student in Malaysia. He comes to Ohio, back to the States, to this new house. Within 3 weeks, he becomes like a raving maniac, disrespectful, disregarding, you know. And I'm like, brother, I'm getting ready to give you a revelation of Jesus like an uppercut, because I don't play the disrespect at all. I never have. And I took him to counseling. I said, well, my husband has died, and maybe he needs to process through this. And the doctor said, no, doc, there's something going on here. We got to send him on to a neurologist. They did a brain scan. They said, your son is losing energy in his brain theta wave. That controls your emotion. It's like he's in a sustained state of depression. And I'm very blessed to have my team with me. I'm just going to have everybody stand up real quick. I got to show you the people who carried me through the storm. From Las Vegas, Mr. Barry Isaacs, are you in the house? Came in overnight. This young man has a vision and passion for people with mental retardation. He's won all kinds of awards for his creativity. He was a millionaire by the time he was about 22 years old from getting government contracts to do this innovation in Cincinnati with children that were mentally retarded. With the New York hat on. Put your hand in the air, Mr. Isaac. They need to see you are the Black Panther. To Dr. John Dawkins, who served the Department of Energy until he retired, communications specialist for war zones. Put your hand in the air, Dr. Dawkins, who sat me down and said, you have to know how to communicate about this technology God has given you. To Pastor Jonathan Hill, put your hand up, Pastor Hill, who was a farmer in South Carolina who heard about my work and 3 years ago said, God told me to pay for you to have a radio program every week. And from his program, doctors found me and used my technology here in North Carolina to stop 2 children who were having over 600 seizures a day. And because of his radio show, my technology is now being used for seizure management in Tanzania. To Miss Kim Ingram, put your hand in the air, who's our marketing consultant, who donated a year of her life without salary. She said, I want to go on the road and archive your journey. I want to document these testimonials, and I want to help put together a world marketing campaign for you. And to my cousin, the medical doctor, Dr. Bianca Smith-Yinkers, hold your hand in the air, who is my brain. When my brain is fried, I use hers. Mother of 5 children, whose son became autistic. Like my son, her son ended up in the hospital for a year. They brought $1 million home, her and her husband on the water. The radiation was so high, her son went crazy, threw a chair through a 30-foot palladium window. And she said, we got to partner and lock arms. And so thank you for allowing me to introduce. These people have carried me because our environments are killing us. Our environments are taking away the way we love, our ability to be gentle. Our environments are making us so riotous until all we want to do is cuss and damn and destroy. And Chancellor, I am so excited for that you are the visionary that is seeking for collaborations, that is seeking for a global presence, because we have to come together. I love that movie, Black Panther. I love it when that young man said, I'm sorry if y'all didn't see the movie, but I'm going to tell you the line. He died, and he went to heaven. He said, look, I cannot stay here because I've got to go back and correct your wrong. Now I'm going to leave you to find out what he was talking about.
So at the mention of correcting wrongs, Dr. Puller-Smith, you mentioned earlier that you had some strategies you want to talk about. And I'll bring you back.
No problem.
Yes, and I think, as I talked about, our focus went from chasing program dollars to chasing people who were investing in other people and in communities. And so we worked to put in place a multiple level approach. I mean, you can't do one thing and think that's going to fix it, that's for sure. So we looked at, we used these nice terms, community engagement and all of that. It just means going out and dealing with people and building relationships and learning how, and learning to listen from their perspective and helping them to become a part of their own solution as opposed to us telling them what to do. I mean, I think that right there, once you flip that, then that's when the partnership occurs, because there's equal respect and all of that. So one of our strategies was certainly to work with leaders. So we worked with faith leaders, and we created what was called the Community Empowerment Network, and Reverend Joyner was certainly a part of that network, in which we provided resources. And resources are not always dollars. I mean, we provided training and tools and information. We taught the leaders about how healthcare systems work and, in our case, don't work, and how, because of our tax dollars, helping them to understand that you realize that the public health people work for you, right? Right? That's what we try to, that's the message that we have. We're trying to teach our leaders to be health advocates, not necessarily health experts, but certainly health advocates. So with the faith leaders, for example, with the Community Empowerment Network, we were able to provide the preachers with information so that they could preach sermons on Sunday about health. So they were the messengers of health. So that it wasn't the experts from the outside coming in to tell the community how to do it and what to do and how to change their eating habits. Reverend Joyner alluded to all the food, or the unhealthy food that's served. So just changing some of the health policies so they offer healthy options, water and salads. They may still have some fried chicken, but offer some baked chicken as well. So very specific things to do that they could help to change and improve the health of the community within the church. I've said to the faith leaders, every church has a health ministry. It may be that right now you're just going to visit the sick in the hospital, or maybe you're just, providing some transportation to the doctors, or maybe they were helping with offsetting the cost of medications if the congregations couldn't afford it. But every church has a health ministry because we pray for the sick. So what we want you to do is to change your mindset and get ahead of the curve and stop just being in a position where you are having so many funerals, but how do we help the congregation stay healthy by changing some things from within the congregation? So that was one model with the Community Empowerment Network. So while we had the messengers being the faith leaders, we also knew that we had to train the lay people in the community, in the church itself. So we put together the Community Health Ambassadors Program, and I'll just share briefly one real success story that I think has truly made me a total believer that when you just take the time to invest in people, they will get it and lift themselves up. We had one of our Community Health Ambassadors programs. We worked with a public housing community. It happened to be in Goldsboro, North Carolina, in Wayne County. And we went in thinking that we had the answers, but the ladies in that community took it on and became the leaders. So we offer Zumba classes. Well, they say we want to be Zumba instructors. We said we'll help you with, teaching you about how to cook the vegetables and to change and have healthy options. They said we want a community garden. They went to the housing administration and got the leaders to give them a plot of land. So they had a community garden that not only helped to feed the people in the public housing community, but also they sold vegetables at the local farmer's market. That's changing that mindset and giving them and helping them to lift themselves up. And so we just need more basic models like that. But it was the most amazing thing to see the Zumba instructors who lived in the public housing community and 3 generations of family members exercising together. That's the sustainable change that we have. We don't have the sustainable funds, but the people are sustainable, and people who care. That's the model that we really need to build on.
So we know that these health challenges and indeed health disparities are global issues. Dr. Lale talked about her radio show and the work around the world. Reverend Joyner, you've been around the world as well. World Bank, tell us about this.
Well, you know, World Bank, traveling World Bank and USDA, I always focus back to, as Barbara said, this local process. You know, in Edgecombe County, in our area, average income, bless you, average income $21,000 a year. Poverty in that sense. And so we had to figure out, you know, what the World Bank and other people asking us to travel to talk to them about. We had to make sure we were getting it right on the ground level. And I am so thankful for the chance to talk about collaboration. In our area, every Monday morning, out of 100 black faith-based, we put $250,000 in the bank every Monday morning. But we're not collaborating to get a dime of that during the week. So if I told you, if any investor, I said, every Monday morning, I'm going to give you $250,000. Can you help me out? But none of us can go to the bank and get access to that. We can't get housing. We can't get health care. And so we need help to come to show us on the local level, whether you're Muslim, Jehovah's Witness, or Baptist, don't matter. You got to eat. You got to live. You got to do human development. And once you're healthy, you can figure the rest of it out. And so that process, school systems, you know, that is buying $400,000 worth of vegetables a year and getting less than 2% of it from the county. Hospitals spending $1 million a year on vegetables, and it's not coming from the community. I don't need a grant. I don't need no charity. I need an education to help me to figure out how do we get these dollars that's leaving us to come back to us. And so when we begin to talk about to the hospital 30-day readmits that they getting hit for, emergency room use, and so from our zip code in our area, it went from 96% to 21%. Wow. And this is from people that don't have the PhD yet. I don't know what we're going to do when we get the PhD. and this is from students that start at 4-year-old and pharmacology. And in the eastern part of North Carolina, we had the largest black land loss of anywhere around through the whole concept of taking farms and USDA leading it. And to 4-year-olds, 4-year-old to 16-year-old, partnershiping with a 200-year farm where a guy was he had lost 75 acres, only had 25 acres left. These youth partnership with him and his family. And the youth bought 25 acres of land so he could stay on 4 acres, and they're farming 21 acres of it. And this is youth-led in this county where they can't even get the extension office of 4-H to declare that they're worthy to be 4-H and ag extension. Wow. And so collaboration from a local, from the university level to this community level, and if the World Banks and other folks can come and see us, We need to make them come to us rather than we go to them. And so that's my plight, is that we got so much of this that we can save ourselves from these food deserts and other places without begging Walmart to come to us, and that we can do that. So I'm when I leave Edgecombe County and come into a place other than this, I ask the Lord to help me. But I'm excited to be here today. I'm literally excited and tickled about what this connection and collaboration can do for us as a people.
Well, thank you for being here. Dr. Lale, I'm going to bring you back in to educate us on these environmental risks. I think you have a brief presentation demonstration you want to do for us.
Yes, I do. Can I get my PowerPoint slides? Okay. Let's see. Okay. My project at Columbia is the Healthy Smart Homes 2020 project. In the Obama administration, they started a national campaign and actually made a call to action to promote healthy homes. And this is the reason why. We have too much air and radiation toxins in our home. With all the Wi-Fi and everything, we have electric. Electricity is powered by a radiation called non-ionizing radiation. I need everybody to say that with me. Say non-ionizing. Say it again, non-ionizing. Non-ionizing radiation was classified as a Class B carcinogen in the United States in the late 1800s, the early 1900s, because we've always known that non-ionizing radiation demineralizes the body, primarily of iodine and magnesium, and causes low oxygen levels to fall. That's why the Amish community to this hour has always refused to have non-ionizing radiation or electricity in their homes. But they're now in trouble because we have so many power transformers and cell phone towers that they're caught in the middle. And so we started this project to support Dr. Regina Benjamin, who was the second black African-American Surgeon General. And she's the one that told everybody, your house is making you sick. Dr. Smithy Inkes and I went to Toronto, Canada to meet up with Dr. Renee Bannis, who is a world leader. She's a medical doctor and she's a naturopath. And she has this whole campaign on reducing your exposure to electricity in the home. And so we are so excited to be at this symposium and to share, because we have to change. The statistics on autism alone tell us and dictate that we have to change, because now the National Institute of Health is saying that autism, Alzheimer's, dementia, the probable cause, these are all neurodegenerative diseases, and electromagnetic radiation, which is non-ionizing radiation, is the probable cause. Next slide, please. Chancellor, I want you to know that Google has so many wonderful pictures of you. I selected this one to say congratulations on your installation as the 12th Chancellor of this beautiful university. Next slide, please. And so here I am. I went to Columbia University. Actually, when I won the gold medal, I went there to do my doctoral studies, and I went blind. I developed diabetes after I put a modem in my house, and then was later diagnosed with type 3 diabetes. How many people have ever heard of type 3 diabetes in this auditorium? One person, two people. Type 3 diabetes is when your body is resistant to uptaking insulin to the brain, and it affects your nerve motor coordination. They're now saying Alzheimer's is type 3 diabetes. People with type 3 diabetes are extremely electrosensitive. I'm very electrosensitive. I have to wear a static blocker on my body because just going through a scanner at the airport can knock me out. And so Columbia webinared us to the world. We worked on this model there with 48 people, electricians, contractors, etc., to see how we could make an indoor safer. Next slide, please. And here's a problem. The toxins inside are killing us. Next slide, please. Here's my house. I bought this house in Ohio. It had massive ants. When I tell you, not one little, two little, three little, thousands of ants came in off the patio through the back door to the kitchen. And I said, if you're going to come in this house, you're going to pay rent. So who do I talk to? But when I went to Canada, this doctor from Russia walked up to me at our training, Dr. Smithy Inkus and I, said, do you have ants in your house? I said, I have a terrible ant problem. Well, why would you be asking me about ants in the middle of a blizzard outside and we're all up here shivering? She said, lady, you have the classic look of a person with radiation poisoning. She said, I have a scanner. Let me scan your body. She scanned my body. I was 100% radioactive. I was looking at this woman like, I've never heard anything about this. Dr. B was looking at her like, she never heard anything like this. She had Dr. B touch my stomach in the middle of my stomach, and it knocked the energy out of her because I was so radioactive. She said, don't play with this. How many people have heard somebody died and they died in their bed? If you take an inventory, 8 out of 10 people are dying in their bedrooms, in their beds, because the electromagnetic radiation in the sockets in the walls behind the bed can energize your box spring, and it can become as high as a taser gun. And this doctor from Russia said, when you get home, you get an engineer to come to your house immediately, unplug everything electrical in your bedroom, get your head off the wall and sleep with it at the foot of the bed, and that's what saved my life. Because you can see on this slide up here, 1,332. Can everybody see that? Okay. Your radiation in your house should be below 40 GSUs, or gram-Stetzer units of radiation. That translates to 0.42 milligauss of radiation. Mine was 1,332. And on the upper level, it was 1,579. High enough to knock out the center of the brain that controls my heart and lungs. Too many young people. We just had a 30-year-old die in Washington, D.C. that had no disease at all. She went to take a nap in the middle of the day, 3 computers in her room and her laptop in the bed with her, and died. And so I was so enamored. I started this campaign. I donated this house. I had every kind of engineer coming in here to find out what the problem was. There was high chemicals from the manufacturing, high radiation from the electrical current. The soil was radioactive, and it was feedbacking into my house. Next slide. And so when I found out we were under a nationwide call to action that was being collaborated with the Department of Health and Human Services, CDC, and EPA was saying 6 out of 10 houses were too toxic, I said, we are going to formulate a campaign to make indoors safer. Next slide. And so that's what we did. We were able, next slide. When we found out that the NIH was saying, listen, all of this high radiation is causing neurodegenerative diseases, and Cincinnati's autism is now 1 in 3 children. Keep going. Next slide, please. And so when we found out, OSHA has actually revised the law for employers. If you have your employees working with anything electrical, you are supposed to give them protective gear. But protective gear can cost like $4,000 per person. And so Microsoft started putting health warning labels. So did Hewlett-Packard. So did Sony. And so did we. Because they know that non-ionizing radiation is making people sick. Next slide. And so they know, who would ever think a socket is like a taser gun? And I want to demonstrate that since we have Ms. Barber, our state representative here, and I have a number of little things I can work with. I developed a nanotechnology that works off a straight voltage in a room. This is it. This pole here is just a mounting strip. We have a unit that looks like a postage stamp. It's called a biobalancer. It goes on your cell phone. And so we have these microphones up here, and I want to demonstrate what they are actually doing to us. So if you'll hold my stick, okay, and hold the microphone. And so we're going to do a baseline. Now, at Columbia, we have an electrical engineer who is a medical doctor who developed a patented test. It's called two-finger Bedort testing. That stands for bidigital O-ring test. This is now a standard of care a skill in medicine. So we're going to have her test all her fingers to see how she balances. So put your thumb, ring finger, fourth index finger together, hold strong, and she's perfect. She's balanced. Put the next finger, she's balanced. Next finger, she's balanced. Next finger, she's balanced. We go through all fingers to see if you balance on all, and you do. So now we're going to have you hold the microphone in your hand, and we're going to take the finger that deals with your heart chakra. 1, 2, 3, and immediately it knocks out her energy. Everybody see she cannot hold her fingers together. Now, we're going to have you set this microphone down. We're going to see what this did to her heart. So you put two fingers together. God put sensors in the tip of your finger, and just put those two fingers, the left hand, over your heart. That's right. The fingers together, you got a heart. And here we go. Hold strong. Now, right now, she's having an imbalance in her heart. So her heart is not properly uptaking trace minerals or oxygen. But how about if we can correct that? Okay, we're going to have her. Okay, Dr. B wants you muscle test, so hold the microphone back. So we're going to see what this does to her muscle. And it takes her muscle right out. Hold strong. And I really can just give her one finger because she really loses energy fast. So now we're going to take the biobalancer. This little unit can fit on that microphone. It works instantly. Just wrap it around there. Okay? And take your fingers and put them together. 1, 2, 3. Rock solid.
There we go.
Okay. Well, watch this. We can take this off. We can actually put this on a system. So we're going to broadcast to her microphone. Just hold those together for me. I could actually go over there and wrap it around the wire, but because this works off the stray voltage and has a transmitter in it, it will biobalance her microphone. See that together? 1, 2, 3, rock solid. So we have a system we can put on the window in here, and we can biobalance everything electric in here. So when you touch it, you do not lose energy. So right now, he's actually giving her an exercise and rebalancing her body. So let's lay this down. Okay. Two fingers together. Back to the heart. Two fingers back to the heart. Fingers together. Oh, strong. Rock solid. So we rebalanced her heart, and we didn't even touch anything. We didn't plug anything in. We didn't retrofit anything. But we rebalanced her. Now, this is what's happening in the grocery stores. You went to the organic store. You paid your high premium money. And as soon as they scanned it, it went crazy. So we got to take this off. Make sure you hold this thing. Like you have to hold this out now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so watch this. You find anytime that you hit a barcode, just tap this 1, 2, 3, and let's see what happens to the water. Fingers together. 1, 2, 3. This water is creating an imbalance. So if she drinks this water, she can affect her digestion. So how about if we have a system that we can wrap on your water and give you a whole building outflow water system? We can increase the oxygen in the water. We can stop the buildup of lime in the water. We can double plants, the size of plants with water. We're already doing it on soy farms. We can stop mastitis in cows. Already doing it on dairy farmers. So watch this. 1, 2, 3. Hold this for me. Fingers together. Rock solid. We took that radiation out of that water. Just like that. We have a system that does all grocery stores. You got a cell phone? Anybody got a cell phone on stage? The World Health Organization has said these cell phones are causing cancer. This is the reason why. Anything that decreases oxygen absorption in your body causes cancer. So here we go. Fingers together. 1, 2, 3. Immediately. Well, watch what it does to her, the side of her breast tissue. Fingers together. I can't hold it there. I put it to the side of the breast. This is why so many women are getting breast cancer. And this is why this big campaign about cell phones and breast cancer. Ladies and gentlemen, never put a cell phone in your bra. Gentlemen, get it out of your left chest pocket. It's giving men breast cancer, and it's taking out the pacemaker in the heart. How about if we have a system that stops that? 1, 2, 3. Put it down. Oh, we got to test. I'm sorry. Rock solid. Now place that down. Two fingers back on the breast tissue. 1, 2, 3. Rock solid. So, Chancellor, we've created an industry. We've created new jobs. We've created a new way to do not just electricity, but gas, windows, water. I don't even have to tell you how they tried to beat me up and how they tried to discredit me. We have already taken the gold medal for the United States in 2 occasions. On the international platform, 44 nations, we brought the gold home. I tried to find money. I went to incubators. They said, well, because we can't physically find something to measure this, we're not going to give you no money. I said, but what about the millions for research? Okay, where is this? So I had to do my own thing. I've already raised $159,000 and to give to help people who are dying. I have NCCU, let me tell you how bad you are. I have professors and alumni that helped me raise money for a child that was sent home to die in Charlotte. The faculty, Dr. Matisia said, we got something here. When they started beating me up and knocking me out, they had the nerve to say this stuff was some kind of witchcraft sorcery until NASA came along. At NASA, they have quantum physics machines that measured it and said they never seen nothing like it. Next slide, please. Because it takes care of all static and everything, chemicals, gas. What this does for Clorox is amazing. It balances Clorox to make it lower the assault. So you can use it without dying from it. Next slide, please. Next slide. So we got the solution, BioSmart Solar. Next slide. Next slide. We didn't go to Wakanda. We found out Wakanda was already here. We found out when we understand we are created by the Most High God, we are all here to solve a problem. This is his technology. This has created a new industry. This will bring new jobs, new markets around the world. We have it for so much stuff. Next slide. NASA had told us what to do. Medicine already has environmental codes. Insurances will already pay for us to come and bring a quantifying instrument that was developed by the Army to see what the radiation is in your house. Insurances will pay for that now. Next slide. And so, next slide. So, here is my number. Those of you that are interested in business, helping us bring this to the world, helping to get us to farmers. We got 4 farms of 1,700 dairy cattle that use this technology because the cattle was dying in 2 years. We are having a meeting. We are having demonstrations at the Millennium Hotel, 7 o'clock tonight and tomorrow. Text us. Let us know you want to come. This technology is available for sale. We're going to be out in the lobby talking to people about it, and we got half price going on. So we want to talk to the state of North Carolina because we are alternative solar. What we can do to help solar panels safer is amazing. And when you plug your phone in the car, it increases your gas mileage. Yes. So on that note, go ahead.
Yeah. So as I said at the start of this session, I'm between you all and lunch. While I definitely was looking to hear and learn about food and food deserts and social determinants, we can now add environmental toxins to our language. Thank you all for your time with us today with this symposium, and enjoy your lunch.
What this does, I want to show you.